NTA International News.
First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan advises Nigerian women to be advocates of peace as PDP Women Rally holds in Ilorin. More groups adopt President Jonathan as their presidential candidate for March 28 election. Senate investigates petition against former bank chief Cecilia Ibru. Plus, federal government introduces new policy on food and nutrition. Hello there, it's good to have you join us on the news belt of NTA International. I'm Sarah Sander. The National Security Council has renewed its confidence in the Nigerian armed forces as it also commended them for the successes recorded in the past few weeks in its operations. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant Kenneth Minima, stated this while briefing journalists on the outcome of the Security Council meeting. State House correspondent Segun Lawole reports.
The meeting reviewed the Northeast operations, particularly in the last 3 or 4 weeks, in the renewed onslaught against Boko Haram. The Chief of Army Staff addressed State House correspondents at the end of the meeting.
Of course, you know that Yobe and Adamawa states have been liberated completely, and we look forward to the restatement of structures of government and of governance. And I'm also sure you know that in Borno State, out of the 27 local governments, we have 3 local governments remaining: Abadam, Kalabalge, and Goza. And we're optimistic that with time, we'll liberate those local governments.
On the possibility of holding elections in the Northeast, since only a few towns are still being controlled by Boko Haram, the Chief of Army Staff reacts.
INEC is still there. INEC now has to reassess and evaluate because the areas have been liberated, but I can also tell you that not all structures of governance have been reinstated. And they will need to be reinstated so that citizens can go back to their areas, and it is then I think they can execute their rights as voters. How soon, I don't know. I am a soldier.
Not before March 28th?
I don't have an idea. I can't speak for that.
And for the Chibok girls?
No news for now, because in all the liberated areas we have also made inquiries. But the truth is, when the terrorists are running away, they run also with their families. So, and those who have come in contact with have not made any comments suggestive that Chibok girls were there and we are taken away. So, but we are optimistic that as it becomes closer and the territory is becoming elusive to them, we will get further details on that.
In the State House, Segun Lawole, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Goodluck Jonathan has described as reckless the attitude of some Nigerian leaders who not only politicize the activities of the armed forces, but also run the military down in the face of terrorism. The president stated this while receiving a check of 1 million naira donated by an individual to support the Nigerian armed forces in fighting insurgency. State House correspondent Segun Lawole again reports.
Dr. Oyetunde from Lagos, on behalf of his family, donated the sum of 1 million naira in support and appreciation of the efforts of the armed forces and other security operatives to rid the country of Boko Haram.
This talking about to support our patriots, brave men and women defending our nation, especially at this crucial time.
President Jonathan used the event to once again commend the armed forces and other security operatives who are giving their best to defend the nation at this period.
And I always say that a nation must honor these people. All nations, that especially we emulate and we build our democracy after, don't insult their military and intelligence services, because the strength of a nation depends on these men and women, who, just like Dotun would say, have to stay in the ring for us to stay in roofed buildings. They have to stay awake for us to sleep. And these are people who must be honored, must be appreciated, and definitely must be insulated from our politics. I feel bad when leaders try to rope in the military in our day-to-day political activities. That is reckless.
The president called on Nigerians to emulate the gesture of those who have continued to encourage and support the military in the course of fighting the insurgents.
Other Nigerians can do better. Let us all support our military. So far, I've seen youth groups coming out to demonstrate in support of the military. They've done it in Abuja, they've done it in Lagos. These are young people. The best they can do is to identify the older people who God has blessed and who, through this great country, they've been able to get something. All others who wish to donate, to reach out to the office of the Chief of Defense Staff, or the National Security Advisor, or the Minister of Defense, to facilitate such donations.
The Chief of Defense Staff had earlier confirmed some donations received from other public-spirited Nigerians.
A group, Association of Pharmaceutical Importers of Nigeria, donated 50 million naira worth of drugs to the armed forces. One rice seller too got moved, and he donated 150 bags of rice. Another industrialist that manufactures chichi noodles donated 1,000 cartons of chichi noodles and 1,000 pieces of ready-to-eat noodles. We felt that what the president has been saying, that this war is not for military, it's for all of us.
The presentation was made before the...
In another development, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to unravel the mix-up and the controversies generated by the conversation President Jonathan had with King Mohammed VI of Morocco. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Ambassador Aminu Wali, stated this while reacting to the recent call on President Jonathan to tender public apology on the mix-up.
People should not, like I had some senator from the opposition asking for the president to apologize to the country. Now, this is, if at all, there's anybody going to apologize, it's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I, being the Minister of Foreign Affairs, will be the one to tender that apology, not Mr. President.
So are you accepting that you are culpable?
Well, I mean, I am investigating. I said, if at all, if I told there's anybody that should apologize, it's after the investigation, whatever it is, that is the time that will come up.
So for now, there's no reason to apologize?
Well, for now, there's no reason to apologize, yes, because you cannot prejudge people. I mean, we believe in rule of law, and we believe in the due process. So the president gave a directive. I am taking it very seriously. I'm looking into it. And by the time we get to the bottom of the issue, then the public will know exactly what happened.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Aminu Wali. Nigerian women have again been encouraged to support the Jonathan Sambo ticket for 2015 and vote for continuity of the government that has given the Nigerian women a pride of place in the society. First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan, while addressing women in Ilorin, Kwara State during the PDP Women Presidential Campaign rally, noted that the PDP is a stable and peaceful political party that has the interest of all Nigerians at heart, with particular interest in Nigerian women emancipation. She urged women to be advocates of peace and avoid being lured into activities that will truncate the quest for peaceful general elections, noting that the present administration has recorded landmark achievements in almost all sectors of the economy.
People, they are trustworthy people. They are faithful people. They are loyal people. They are honest people. Let me give them the coordinating minister.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Coordinating minister, Minister of Finance in our own. Petroleum, where our resources they come from, now our own. Okay. And that's why only them they here.
assured that women participation in governance will be increased to 45% if President Jonathan is re-elected. And as more groups continue to show more support for President Goodluck Jonathan's re-election bid, Supervising Minister of Information, Edem Duke, has reaffirmed that President Goodluck Jonathan is determined to fulfill his transformation agenda. Edem Duke spoke to correspondent Anthony Forson in Abuja.
As we roll into the penultimate week to the elections, the President, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and indeed the PDP government of Nigeria continues to be appreciative and receptive to the overwhelming support which is coming from different groups, different ethnic nationalities, different strategic interests in support of the candidature of Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. It has become so overwhelming that it places on the President the continuous responsibility to ensure that Nigeria moves from its current status, not just as the biggest economy in the continent of Africa, but one that is respected globally. And speaking globally, at this critical time in our nation, people continue to travel outside Nigeria and disparage our dear country. They speak about insurgency and they speak about the inadequate attention, presumably in the area of education. But Nigerians know better. Nigerians know, as a matter of fact, that there are people who have led this country, and at the end of their tenures, they built private universities. But this is a president that in 45 months has built 14 universities across Nigeria. This feat is unprecedented on the continent of Africa. And the president promises that he will lay a foundation of national unity, of cohesion, and security in this country that will move Nigeria beyond being the leader in Africa, but being a true leader in the Committee of Nations.
Supervising Minister of Information, Edem Duke. You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. A recap of our major stories. First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan has advised Nigerian women to be advocates of peace as PDP Women Rally was held in Ilorin. You also heard that more groups have adopted President Jonathan as their presidential candidates for March 28 election. Up ahead on the news, federal government introduces new policy on food and nutrition. Details in a moment.
In 2012, the Nigerian government reduced the amount of subsidy paid on petroleum products and chose to invest its 41% share of the safe subsidy funds into the Subsidy Reinvestment and Empowerment Program, SURE-P. Today, we'll look at the numbers. SURE-P has achieved 50% decrease in maternal mortality rates and 40% decrease in neonatal mortality rates in Nigeria. Over 8,500 skilled workers have been employed for public works. Over 1,000 mass transit buses have been provided for the public, and 40 Priority 1 roads are undergoing maintenance throughout the country. SURE-P has created 185,000 jobs, placed over 20,000 graduates in the graduate internship program, and trained over 1,000 auto technicians at the National Automotive Council. 1,200 health facilities have been supplied with drugs and medical equipment. 520,000 pregnant women have received care, resulting in over 100,000 deliveries in SURE-P MCH facilities. These are just some of the ways SURE-P is making life better for you and I.
SURE-P, delivering service with integrity.
If I yes, it will be hit, I will not be you. election, look for the umbrella and vote for Confirm.
Thanks for staying with us. The call for the re-election of President Goodluck Jonathan has been described as apt for complete transformation of the country and not for partisan politics. This is the position of the Progressive Friends Foundation, a group under the People's Democratic Party, at its one-day strategic stakeholders retreat in Abuja. Musbau Danwahab reports.
The Progressive Friends Foundation believes, apart from combating governance in Nigeria by impacting positively on the lives of Nigerians, with youths and women empowerment taking their pride of place.
PFF congratulates Mr. President on his continued delivery on the transformation agenda, irrespective of the electionary times and space. PFF Group therefore calls on all members as part of its campaign strategy to debunk the disinformation strategy by the opposition and focus on issue-based and delivery-oriented pieces of information.
Participants at the retreat deplored the use of violence and other unwholesome practices that are inimical to the conduct of free and fair election. They maintain that politics should be issue-based, devoid of calumny.
We want our president to continue because what he has started, we want him to finish it.
Consolidation is important at this point. Unity and stability of the country is important at this point. In Nigeria, for the first time, we will get a president that scores so high.
The railway thing is a big success. Nobody ever imagined the railway will work in this country. It's working. And then as a woman, he has done so well for us.
An 11-point communique from the retreat commended all groups and institutions that have risen above partisan politics to publicly endorse the continuity of President Goodluck Jonathan for further service delivery to the nation.
Izon National Communion of Bishops' 60 Days Prayers program has ended with an appeal to Nigerians to go to the polls with no fear as God has taken over the affairs of the country. Correspondent Basi Taikpang reports that the high point of the prayer program was the symbolic enthronement of President Jonathan.
Every Goliath shall fall with the face down in the name of Jesus.
Amen. That was the symbolic endorsement of President Jonathan by the bishops. Drawing their inspirations from the book of Timothy in the Bible, the bishops sang, danced, and prayed for God's intervention in the affairs of the nation.
We decided to come together to pray for Nigeria and the leadership of the nation, not only because our son is the president.
Intercede for the forthcoming elections. And what is being done is scriptural.
The group, which came together in 2014, said it has a passion to serve the nation through ceaseless prayers, which they promise to continue even after the elections. The Izon National Communion of Bishops is a network of bishops from Ijoland dedicated to prayers and interceding for the nation at all levels. In Abuja, Basi Taikpang, NTA News.
And the Labour Party has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission to discard the use of the card reader for the forthcoming general elections. National Chairman of the party, Alhaji Abubakar Abdul Salam, made the appeal in Abuja while speaking with newsmen. Alhaji Abdul Salam said the appeal became necessary as many Nigerians are yet to collect their permanent voter cards, while the optimal functionality of the card is yet to be ascertained by INEC. On the party's adoption of President Jonathan as its presidential candidate, he explained that the president has remained consistent in his developmental strides, hence the conviction that he will do more if given the opportunity of another term. He congratulated the Nigerian Labour Congress on the success of its recently conducted election.
Comrade Aibawaba did not anyway come to us as a surprise. It is our belief that NLC
under Waba, whom we know very well, will bring a positive change to the working people of this country.
And the Senate has launched a full investigation into the allegations of fraud, irregularities and negligence in the recovery of assets and shares of the failed Oceanic Bank from its former managing director, Mrs. Cecilia Ibru. National Assembly correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The investigative hearing being conducted by the Committee on Drugs, Narcotics and Financial Crimes followed a petition to the Senate alleging poor administration of the implementation of the plea bargain entered into between the federal government and Mrs. Cecilia Ibru after her prosecution. It was alleged that she acquired most of the assets and shares recovered from her under the plea bargain. Assets Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, EFCC, Securities and Exchange Commission, Central Bank of Nigeria, and EcoBank, the new owners of Oceanic Bank, were therefore summoned to explain roles they have played in the matter. AMCON claimed that some of the assets acquired by Mrs. Ibru, particularly aeroplanes and other properties in the United Kingdom listed in the petition, were not gazetted for any action.
As far as we know, there is no asset that has been disposed of by AMCON that has been reacquired by the said Mrs. Ibru.
Committee Chairman Victor Lar and other members promised to get to the root of the matter in furtherance of the renewed fight against corruption.
People say this government is not fighting corruption. That is not true. We are making efforts. It's just that Nigerians generally are impatient. And the will of the fight against corruption thrives when people can come forward in information.
The investigative hearing continues. In Abuja, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The federal government has introduced a new policy on food and nutrition to solve the issue of malnutrition in the country. The initiative is expected to assist in the rehabilitation of displaced and traumatized children in the Northeast. Musa Baba Aliu has details.
Even though African countries recorded huge successes in food production in recent times, cases of malnutrition remain high on the continent. Investigations show that poverty, population growth, and climate change are some of the factors responsible for the challenge. In spite of the efforts by the Nigerian government in food production, the country still houses 37% of under 5 children that are stunted. Records also show that Northwest region has the highest level of stunting with 56%, Northeast 42%, and North Central 29%. The regions with lowest level of stunting are Southwest with 22%, South-South 18%, and Southeast 16%.
Nigeria can do it. Nigeria can produce enough food and can produce the therapeutic foodstuffs that are required to deal with malnutrition in its acute form.
The new policy being scrutinized by stakeholders is expected to boost production of highly energy-giving food in the country.
Within the next 4 years, over 80 million Nigerians will have access to biofortified cassava, maize, and orange-fleshed sweet potatoes. We will also expand our work on biofortification to include rice, maize, and small grains.
Development partners including European Union, IFAD, Food and Agriculture Organization, USAID among others, have pledged to support Nigeria to achieve the objective. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliu, NTA News.
In other news, Venezuela says it will continue to maintain cordial diplomatic relations with other nations while striving to solve its internal challenges. Head of mission of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in Nigeria stated the position of his country when he addressed journalists at the embassy in Abuja. Phoebe Kaburuk has details.
The press briefing is coming on the heels of the U.S. President's recent declaration of a national emergency to deal with alleged threat of erosion of human rights, persecution of political opponents, and curtailment of press freedom, among other allegations in Venezuela. The head of mission in Nigeria maintains that Venezuela, as a peace-loving nation, wants the U.S. government to fulfill its international obligations of according respect for other countries' self-determination and rights of the people to freely choose their own path. He therefore notes that the declaration by U.S. is a surprise to his country, more so that series of meetings were recently held with the government authorities and the opposition towards strengthening their democracy.
It is important to highlight that the visit of the Secretary General of UNASUR and Foreign Minister of Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, and Uruguay took place at the invitation of the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, who early this year requested the participation of this body to facilitate to dialogue with the United States government.
He reaffirms his country's position of the principles of mutual respect and non-interference in their internal affairs, and urged the U.S. to repeal the executive order against his country and normalize diplomatic relations with an elected government. He appreciates the cordial relations existing between Venezuela and Nigeria, which has enabled the mission to embark on some educational programs in 6 states of the country and the FCT. Venezuela, colonized by Spain in 1522, amid resistance from the indigenous people, became one of the first Spanish-American colonies to declare independence in 1821. It has an estimated population of over 29 million. Phoebe Kabruk, NTA News.
Next, it's sports update with Fisayo Ogunfuyi.
On Monday, defeated Burkina Faso in the 2015 AfroBasket and All-Africa Games first leg qualifier. The nation's men's basketball team beat their Burkinabe counterparts by 87-64 in Ouagadougou. Head coach of the team, Sani Ahmed, expressed confidence that the Tigers will qualify for both competitions, adding that the technical crew will correct loopholes noticed in the first leg. UK-based Nigerian boxer Larry Ekundayo says he will use his victory over the highly rated Dale Evans at York Hall on Saturday to launch his challenge in the British super welterweight division.
I'm back on track now. Probably get like a week off, and I'm back in training.
The Flying Eagles of Nigeria are set to face their Ghanaian counterparts on Wednesday in the first semi-final of the ongoing CAF Under-20 Championship in Senegal. The Black Satellites of Ghana came second behind Mali in Group B, while Nigeria topped Group A with 7 points. Both teams are no strangers to each other after engaging in a double-headed friendly in Accra and Tema last month. The coach Manu Gaba led team 1-1 and drew 1 in the friendlies, and will be hoping to scale the Ghanaian hurdle in a competitive match. Mali will face host Senegal in the second semi-final on Thursday. Former Golden Eagles coach and assistant coach of Dream Team 1, Willie Bazwaye, is dead. He died at the age of 80. According to family sources, the incident happened on Monday at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. His son, Baldwin Bazwaye, who had the stints with the national team, broke the news of the death of the Olympic winning coach from Benin City. With Sports News Update, Fisayo Ogunfuyi, NTA News.
And that's where we draw the curtain on our news package at this time. Thanks for staying with NTA International.